Okay, so today we are going to discuss about some other things in robot frameworks. So we'll start with so we conclude this. Okay, S- yeah. So here organizing test cases. So while writing test case, so we have few things to follow up. So um, we can organize the test case like this. Like you can add tags and setups, and you can add some documentation and all. Okay, so we'll show that. So first is test suite. So test suite already we discussed. Test suite is nothing but it's a robot suite file. So which will contain number of test cases. Okay, so every robot input file will have a number of test cases. So those test cases, the collection of test cases, will call it as a one test suite. Okay, yeah. Okay, so next we have setups and teardowns. So setups and teardown. What is setups and what is teardown? So setup is nothing but, so if you remember in manual testing class, we already discussed about preconditions and post conditions. Okay, so whatever you have preconditions, those we can check in a setup level. Setup level in this uh, so so before starting a test case, so if you want to make sure that uh, uh, if you want to configure something, or if you want to make the system is ready to test, so those things will call it as a preconditions. Those preconditions we can add in a setup level. Okay, so setup level, so here we can write some statements, or we can write some conditions, so before going to write a test case. Okay, so in setup we have two things. One is suite level setup, and other one is test level setup. So suite level setup is nothing but, let's say if you take one suite, so suite will have a number of test cases. So let us example, one test suite is having 10 test cases. Okay, when you write a suite setup, so before executing 10 test cases, so this suite setup will run. Okay, so if you say test setup, this is the test case level. Okay, every test case can have one setup. Okay, so that is the difference. So similarly, tear down is nothing but at the end of the test shoot, at the completion of all test cases, if you want to clear something, like if you change some configuration, if you want to reset some configuration, or if you made some changes on that, so if you want to revert back, so those things will call it as a tear down. So tear down is nothing but rollback. So as a tester, what is the main assumption is, so if you want to test some product or some application, so at the end of your testing, what you have to make sure is you have to make the system, so how you got it, like it should not interrupt the other one. So if somebody wants to test the same application, he wants to test his feature, so he should not feel like somebody has changed his inputs or something like that. So those things you can make sure that whatever you made changes, those things you have to revert it back, like you have to clear it. Okay, so that will called as a T down. So again, like setup, we have two things. One is shoot level T down, other one is test level T down. So shoot level, so at the completion of shoot, this will execute. So test level, every test case, this T down will execute. So these are like optional. Okay, that is not a mandatory either, not a mandatory that you should have shoot setup. It's not a mandatory such that you should have shoot setup and shoot it down and test it up and test it down. That is optional. If you want to add it, you can add it. Okay, similarly we have documentation also. uh, so we can add documentation for the shoot, so I'll show you that how to do it. So these things we can define in settings. So if you see, yeah, in settings module, so all those stuff, uh, so settings is not only for library and resource, we can use for those things also. You can add shoot setup here and test setup and documentation and other stuff also we can add. Okay, that we'll discuss now. See, example we can create like this. So settings and shoot setup and the name you can give. So here, this is the keywords name. Okay, so keyword is nothing but one function name. Okay, this is the function we already defined. So I just gave one example, we can give our own. So like test data. Okay, so I'll show you that how it will happen. So we'll take a previous example. So here we have two test cases, test case 1 and test case 2. So now I'll make, so this will called as one shoot. So robot shoot.txt, the center thing will called as one shoot. Okay, so here I'm just adding shoot. Hmm. So you can give like this also. Log is the keyword, built-in keyword I'm calling, and I'm giving shoot set. Okay, similarly shoot tear down. See, here I'm mentioning shoot setup as, so log is a keyword. This is the argument for the log. I mean log function. So log what it will do? It will just print this statement whatever you give. So shoot setup. So I'm giving this, and tear down I'm giving. This is a shoot tear down. Okay. So what it will happen when you run the test case? First shoot setup has to execute. Okay. So after that it has to go to for test cases. Okay, so last once all test cases completed, then it has to execute shoot tear down and close the shoot. Okay, that is how it should happen. So it's now we're executing that. Okay, open this now. See, shoot is robot shoot and setup. So this will come like this: shoot setup and tear down. So if you see, so first this one is executed, you can see the time. So this is the shoot setup, you can see the time 21 45 40 177. Okay, so next test case 1 you can see 4177 4177 is started test case 1. So next test case 2 4182. Okay, so once test cases all test cases are completed executed completed, then it will go for tear down. So tear down you can see the time 4185. So maybe, so it ended with 184. After that tear down got executed 185. Okay, so like this. So this is like shoot level. Okay, first shoot setup will execute. So here you can write your statements. So if you have any preconditions you can write. Okay, so for example I'm just printing one context here. Okay, so tear down, if you want to make if you want to revert back your changes, then if you want to clear some configuration you can write such things here. Okay, so this is we'll call it as a shoot tear down. Okay, similarly we have other things like test setup and test tear down. So this is like shoot level. So inside test also we can create one setup. Okay, so right now you can see there is no setup. So we're going to add test setup and test tear down. Similarly, test setup, test tear down. Okay, so what it should happen? So first shoot setup has to execute, then it has to go to for test cases. Test case one. So we mentioned test setup. So whatever you mention here, so this will be applicable for all test cases. Okay. So whatever you mention inside test settings section, settings block, so that will be applicable for all test cases. So this test setup is common for both test cases. So first for test case one, test setup, this has to execute. Next, it has to execute this steps. Next for test case 2, again the same setup has to execute and the steps, and after that, so that is what test setup looks good. For test tear down, similarly, so for test case 1, after executing all these statements, it has to execute test tear down. So for test case 2 also, it has to execute test tear down. Okay, so whatever you mention inside the settings blocks, that will applicable for all test cases. So let's say I'll create one more test case. Test case 3. Okay, now I have three test cases. So we'll execute and see now. I'm just refreshing the log. See, this is shoot setup and shoot down. And if I click a test case, see now. So previously these two are not there. Test setup and test down. So this is a setup for test case. So that will call as a test setup, test down. So test setup. See the time 21:50, 14:598. So we gave the statement like this is a test setup. Okay, it printed. Next 14,598. So 14,599. So after this setup, the next step is started. So after that, print name. And finally T down. So once all steps completed, then it will go to the T down. Okay. So if you feel that like for each test case, if you want to create some configuration, you can create in setup level. So if you want to delete some configuration, you can create in a at the end of test case. So that will call as a T down. Okay. So here if you see we are printing, this is a test down. So you can see the immediately after the last statement of the test case. Okay, so print name. So this is the last step. You can see 14,601, 14,601. Okay, so that is how it will execute setup and tear down. Okay, so since we created setup and tear down in settings section, so that will be applicable for all test cases. We'll see for second test case how it will be same setup and tear down. Okay, see for test case 3 also you can see the setup same thing and tear down. Okay, so now we have one issue here. So right now what we did, we created setup and a tear down for test cases in settings block. That means it will applicable for all test cases. So you have one scenario says that the setup and tear down may vary for each test case. Like for test case 1, you have to make one setup. Okay, for test case 2 you have to make one setup. For test case 3 you have to make one setup. So if you have such scenarios, so you have to write for each test case setup you have to modify. So in such cases this won't work out. So you should not define test setup and tear down here. Okay, because if you define here it will be applicable for all. Okay, so for that we have one more option here. So for each test cases, You can define square brackets. Inside square brackets you can make setup. Okay, and you can give spaces for more spaces, and here you can give the keyword whatever you want to execute. So I'm just giving setup for test case 1. Okay, so similarly test case 2. Okay, so I added. So here you can comment this. If you add also it will override. Okay, so three test cases are having three different setups. And then and if we refresh it, see setup for test case 1 and setup for test case 2, setup for test case 3. Okay, but we only defined setup, not tear down. So tear down is still common for all. Okay, this is test tear down and this is test tear down, because tear down we defined in tear down we defined in settings block. Okay, so if you want to change that also for each test case, then you can give tear down okay, so I added for all three and I'm running now. You can see tear down it got changed for one test case, tear down for test case 1, and for other test cases tear down test case 2, tear down test case 3. Okay, but if you see here, still we didn't comment test tear down here. Okay, still it is there. Okay, but if you mention here test tear down or test setup in settings section, but inside test case if we add setup again, so this will override by this. Okay, so this won't execute, so whatever you give here, so this it will take care. Okay, so here you can give or you can comment. Okay, so the so like if you have one scenario, like if let us take we have 10 test case, so after 10 test case, so the setup is common for 5 test cases. Okay, so whatever you add here, so that will be common for 5 test case, and other 5 test case it might vary. Okay, so 5 test case the setup has to vary, so we have to give here. So other 5 test case, instead of giving all test cases like setup and setup and setup for 10 test case, so you can define here test setup as that function whatever you're going to give, and wherever you want to change, okay, you can give like this. So let's say test case 1 we can give. So test case 2 and test case 3, if you feel that you need only for this setup, you can remove this, you can remove. So now what will happen, so for first test case, setup will execute this one log setup for test case 1. For test case 2 and test case 3, still it will execute the same test setup as this is the test setup. See that. Okay, so see here for test case 1 it overridden with setup for test case 1, test case 2 global setup, test case 3 also same. Okay, so that is how we can use these shoot setup and shoot teardown, and test setup and test teardown. Okay, now so if you see here, so there is no documentation. Okay, so if you want to add some documentation for this robot shoot, like what we are going to do with this shoot, and uh, so how many test cases we have, so if you want to write something, if you want to give some description on this shoot, you can add a documentation here. So it will be like documentation, you can write some documentation this shoot. Okay, so I gave this documentation. So if we execute this, see, you can see here in report, so we had three test cases. So it is show like the test case 1 and test case 2 and test case 3 and the status. Okay, see here documentation, this should contain sample test cases. Okay, if, so previous in previous log it was not there. Okay, so now like you know that if you return the test case or test shoot, you know that, so what you're going to do in the particular test case. So assume that after 3 months or 1 year, if you're going to run the same shoot, or somebody replaced you, then he has to work on it, then so for him it's difficult to understand. So you can write some documentation here, like how it works and what you're going to do with the shoot. So this will be helpful to you or somebody also. Okay, so in such things you can write in the documentation. Okay. So the documentation you can define like this: documentation and two spaces or more spaces, and the should contain sample test case. Okay, so like this you can give. And so here one good thing is, so you no need to follow the order, you can give like any order. You can give this documentation starting, and you can give this shoot setup and law, and so your wish, but that will be inside settings block. Okay, so that is all. And so are you clear with these three, like setup and tear down and documentation? Hello, Vishusha. Okay. So next thing is using tags. So we have one more keyword is tags. So what is the use of tags? So we'll see here. So robot framework allows in settings blocks, so you can define tags for test cases. Like so, let's say we have three test cases. So for three test cases, we can add some tag. Okay. So we can add some tags to the test case. So what is the main uses of tags or nothing but so let's say we have 100 test cases. So with the 100 test cases, if you want to categorize like p1 test priority level like p1 or p2 p3 for 50 test cases in p1 and 20 for p2 and the rest other for p3. So if you want to segregate like that, so for each test case in the tag section you can add the tag. So tag is nothing but one label, so you can give your name or some type of the test case or priority or something. You can define our own tag. Okay. So that is so one thing is, if you want to segregate, if you want to categorize, you can use tags. So that is one advantage. So other thing is, so in the whole test case, let's say if you have 100 test cases, in the 100 test cases, if you want to execute only few test cases. Okay. So if you execute like this, so pybot space the suit name. So what this will do, this will execute all test cases in the particular suit. So instead of that, if you want to execute only few things like few test cases, okay, if you want to select those and those selected test cases if you want to execute. Okay. So for that also the tags will be useful. So first you have to create a tag, so based on the tag you can execute it. Okay. That I'll show you how to do it. Okay. So here we have two keywords. So those are like force tags and default tags. So let's say you have not created any tag in test cases. So if you give force tags at the tag name, so what this will do, this will forcibly add this tag to the test cases, all test cases. For all test cases, this whatever you mention here, the tag 1 or tag 2 or your name or priority, so that will applicable for all tags. Similarly for default tags also. So if you mention default tag, so whatever you give tags here, so that will applicable to the all test cases. Okay. So if you see here, you don't have any tag. Okay. You can see here statistics by tag, no tags. Okay. So here it will show the tag. So we didn't add any tag, so it's not showing here. So now we are going to add like default tags and robot. I'm adding. Okay. I added one tag. Okay. So I mentioned here default tags. So this has to applicable for all test cases. Okay, you can see here statistics by tag. On tag we added robot. So total how many test cases are there for robot tag? 3, and the result pass, fail, how much time it took. Okay. So now if you open test cases, you can see tags robot. Okay. So for test case 2 also, tag robot. Test case 3, robot. Okay. So similarly, if you want to add multiple tags, you can give like this is a one tag, and you can give two or more spaces, and you can add robot tag to or testing. Okay, I add three tags. So if you give only one space, that will treat this entire thing as a string. So now see, three tags we are robot and robot tag to testing. So all three will applicable for all test cases like tags. So for test case 1 also all tags, and test case 2 and test case 3. Okay, same thing. So similarly for the we can use force tags also. Okay, to set a tags for all test cases in the settings level. Okay, so instead of that, like setup and tear down, so for each test case, if you want to give a separate tags, so you can define tag section. Okay, so here, so whatever you give, you insert settings that will applicable for all test cases. So if you feel that if you want to give only for specific to test case, you can give tags. So this is a tags block, you can define square bracket tags, and tags you can give test case 1, you can give multiple tags like this, test 1, or else priority you can value the priority p1. Okay, p, okay. Test case 2, and the priority you can use same tag p1. Test case 3, and spacing p2. Okay, so like this you can add tags to the specific to the test case. Executing. So you can see now, so total how many tags, p1 and p2, and test case 1, test case 2, test case 3. So here you can have a doubt such that we added robot and robot test 2, robot tag 2 and testing, but we are not getting there. The reason is, so it is overridden. So like setup and tear down. So if you mention here, that will overridden. If you not add here, so these tags will be applicable to the test case. Okay. So now you can see tags for test case 1, p1 and test case 1, test case 2, p1 and test case 2, and test case 3, p2 and test case 3. Okay, so here you can see statistics by tag. P1 is having how many test cases? Here two test cases. Okay, p2, how many? Only one test case. Okay, one. So similar test case 1, 2, 3, 1 test case each. Okay, so like this for categorizing you can add tags for the, so while writing test case you can add tag. Okay, so that is one thing. Now I'll, so that is one advantage. Now I'll tell you other advantage. So here we are executing all test cases like 3. So instead of 3, if you want to execute only p1 test cases, so the tags which are test cases which are containing p1 as a tag, so those test cases if you want to execute, then we have an option here, ibot space hyphen I. So hyphen I is nothing but inclusive of tag. Okay, so whatever you mention here, the tag we have to give here, and after that shoot name txt. Okay, so what this will happen, uh, this tag it will check in this particular shoot. So what are the test case will contain this tag, so those test cases will execute. Okay, so I'll give p1. If you say p1, so p1 test cases only has to execute. See, so previously 1, 2, 3 test cases, now only test case 1 and test case 2. Why? Because so P1 is containing only 2 test cases. Okay, so if you see the log, P1, 2 test cases, test case 1 and test case 2, these are the tags, and you can see only 2 test cases got executed. Okay, test case 2. Okay, so now if you want to execute P3, okay, so you can see the error here. Shoot robot shoot contains no tests with tag P3. Okay, there is no test case with P3. We have P2. Okay, I'll give P2. Okay, only one test case. Okay, that is test case 3. Okay, so like this you can execute specific test cases using tag. Okay, so that is the usage of tag. So here this I will call it as option, so this hyphen I we are providing that option to the pybot. Okay, so next I'll discuss about options, so in there you'll get clear idea on hyphen I. Okay, so like this we can define a tags. And so here I mentioned only for shoot documentation. Okay, so if you define in settings, so that will be like shoot documentation. So similarly if you want to define a documentation for test case, so if you want to write some description, so what is each test case is doing, so if you want to write that things we can add same like setup, we can give documentation. You can write some documentation. This test case you print someone says. Okay, similarly okay, so I'm defining like this. So, now I'll execute for all. Okay, so if you see here you can see shoot documentation, and here did not find any documentation. Okay, test case level. Now if I execute this, okay, shoot documentation and test case level documentation. This test case will print some message. So this is what we added documentation for test case 1 and test case 2, and add documentation for test case 2 with just printing some message. And test case 3 we didn't add any documentation, so it's not showing here. Okay, so like this you can add documentation. Okay, so that is one thing. So if you see here, the status is pass. So you can see. So whatever you see the status, if it is a pass, it will show a green color. Okay. Now I'll give you some negative scenario. Okay, because we are getting only pass, so we want to see the negative scenario also. Let's say for test case 2, so I'll add something. Okay, so this keyword won't be there, so it has to fail. So I'm giving some junk keyword. Okay, you can see here test case 2. Okay, no keyword with name log. So whatever you give the keyword, no keyword with name found. That means no function found with this specific keyword. Okay, so that is what is throwing error. So that means it's failing. So when it raises an error, it will fail. Okay, so test case is failing. Uh, so here the good thing is, so if one test case fails, so it won't stop. It will continue other test cases. Okay, so that is what framework will do. Okay, so if test case 1 fails, test case will 2, test case 2, 3 also will execute. At last it will tell that test case 2 failed. Okay, so now here you can see the status: 3 tests, 2 passed, 1 failed. Okay, so this is one fail here. So if you open log, so now you can see the red color. Okay, all tests 3, 2 pass, 1 fail. Okay, you can see the percentage. So statistics by tag also you can see. So when it fails, it will show as a red color. Shoot level it failed, so red color. So these statements pass, so test is failed, so the statement failed, it's showing red color. Okay, so the advantage with robot frameworks for logging, it will be like very good. You can feel that. So if you don't know anything also, if you give this log to the unknown guy also, you can easily understand so what is going on and what's happening. Okay, so look wise it will be user friendly. Okay, so that is how it will show pass and fail status. I'm just reverting back. So it will be execute. Okay, all pass. Okay, if you observe one thing here, you can see the documentation here itself. Okay, so this is a shoot documentation colon colon. This shoot contains sample test cases. Okay, so we added here, we added something in documentation. Okay, so that it's printing here. When test case 1 documentation, test case 2 double column, test case 3 we didn't add any documentation, so it is a blank. Okay, so like this you can add documentation and tags and everything. Okay, so now we'll discuss about options. Okay, so what are these options? So first, so for PyBot, if you want to know the version of the PyBot, we are giving version. So here pivot is the command or tool. So for the tool we are providing this option or this an argument. Okay, so if you give that, it is printing only version. So instead of that we can give -v also, -caps v. Okay, so only version. So you have to specify like this one. Okay, pybot hyphen version, so that will print the version of the robot frame. So similarly we have other options also. So like if you want to see the help of the command, like help of the pybot command, you can give hyphen l. Okay, so that will show the options what we are doing, what robot is providing. Okay, so this is the description of robot, and here you can see the options. Okay, so these are the options it is providing. So if you see here, at last it will be version. Okay, hyphen version, so that will print version information. Similarly hyphen l, it will print usage information, and you can give hyphen h also. Okay, so in this I have listed the main things what we'll use regularly, so those we'll discuss now. Okay, so I have listed few things here. See, the option one is hyphen n or hyphen name. So this one is for shortcut of option, and this is full name. You can give full. Okay, so either you can give robot. So pybot you can give one option, and shoot name you have to give. Okay, hyphen n, hyphen capital N you can give, or else hyphen name you can give. So this will called as a long option. It is full name you are giving, or else this is simple. Okay, hyphen n and name. So this is the syntax. So name you should give. So what this will happen, so set the name of the top level test suite. So what are you give name here? Okay, so this will set the shoot name. So as of now the shoot name is robotshoot.txt. So if you see the log, the shoot name is robot shoot. So if you want to modify the name of the shoot, instead of changing the file name, okay, so you can use this option pybot hyphen n, the name you can provide, and the shoot. Okay, so this will execute. So in the log it will change the shoot name. Okay, so if you refresh now, you can see the shoot name has changed. Okay, changing name, even here also changing name test log. Okay, but apart from this nothing will happen, it won't change the file, still the file is same. Okay, file is same, but it will just change the name of shoot in log. Okay, so that is the use of hyphen n. So next we have hyphen d. Okay, so this will set the documentation of shoot. So for documentation we added like this here, documentation. Let's say you did not add here, also if you want to override this through command, if you want to pass that, you can give hyphen d of documentation. So documentation to override. Okay, so whatever you added there, so it came and it's it here. Okay, And with the documentation we can add like a HTML format, so like this star bold star, and you can add some documentation. So it will be like, you know, star bold star. So see, so previous it was normal. So the font is changed to bold. Okay, so like this we have some format. So we can add links also, like HTTP links also we can add. Okay, so similarly, and so next is hyphen G or hyphen set tag. So using this option we can set tags to the all executed test cases. So like this we are tags here, right? Default tags. So the same thing we can provide through option like hyphen G and add a tag. Okay, so this tag will applicable to the all test cases. So if you see this, the new tag added, and that is applicable to the all test case. So test case 1, you can see add a tag, and test case 2 also. Okay, you can add tags with the command. While running a robot you can add tags. So next, hyphen T. So this is very important, so mostly we'll use. So like previous we discussed about hyphen I, so that is inclusive of test case. If you want to run specific test cases using tag, you can use hyphen I. So similarly, if you want to run specific test cases using the name of test case name also we can run. So for that we can use hyphen T option. So hyphen T or hyphen test name. Okay, hyphen test. Sorry, now hyphen test. So the syntax is, you can give, so hyphen T, and here you have to give the test case name. So this is one test case set. If you want to execute only test case 1, you can give test case 1. Okay, so but here, so if you want to mention space, we have to give underscore. Okay, so then what this will treat test space case 1, because underscore will replace with the space. Okay, so you should not give space, we have to give test underscore case 1. So this will execute only particular test case. Okay, you can see only test case 1 got executed. Okay, so instead of that, so this is giving one more advantage. Either you can give the full name of test case, or else you can give regular expression. So regular expression is like this. So star, so the starting can be anything, star case. Okay, so like case has to there, I mean the word case is as to there and it can be, after that it can be anything, star. Okay, you can write a regular expression. So here we have three test cases. All three test cases are having case is the word, so in middle. So after that there will be some word, or it may not, even before also there will be some word. Okay, see now it executed for all test cases. Okay, similarly you can write a regular expression. So using hyphen t, either you can give the full name of the test case, or you can give some regular expression like this. Okay, so you can use star or question mark. So regular expression. Okay, star will be like 0 or more, question mark is 0 or 1. So that is one thing. Next, hyphen s. Okay, so hyphen s, this using this option we can run selected shoots. Okay, so before this, so I need to tell you one more thing. So let's say, so here, uh, so usually we are executing like this, pybot space that the shoot name. Okay, if you execute this, only specifically this particular shoot will execute. So instead of this, if you give star here, okay, so pybot star, that means, so whatever you have test suits in the particular current the current directory, those has to execute. Okay, so we have uh, robot dot shoot dot txt and sample dot robot and test dot robot. So we have three robot shoots. Okay, so if we give pybot space star, see, not star, so here you have to give the path like this. Okay, so you have to give pybot space the path of the directory. So I'm giving current directory. So in the current directory, so what are the robot shoots, so all those has to execute. Okay, so like, so in current directory we have three shoots. So one is sample.robot and test.robot and robot shoot.robot. So we have three files. So one is sample shoot.txt and sample.robot and test.robot. So all three got executed here. So first one is robot, you can see how many test case and what is the status, and second and third. Okay, so so this is all. So overall shoot name is robot. Okay, so if you see the log, so top level shoot is robot. So under the robot again we have three shoots. Okay, robot shoot, and again sample, and again test. So all these, and again how many test cases. Okay, so like this. So here the name you can see, shoot name is robot, and under robot dot robot icon shoot and robot dot robot shoot dot test case one. Okay, so this is the hierarchy of the shoots. So for this, so if you want to select only the particular shoot, then you can use -s, -s and shoot name. -s, you can give shoot name. So I want to execute only sample. Okay. So this got executed only sample. Okay. So this will be similar like sample robot. Okay. Both are same. Both are same. Either you can give like this, or else you can give python pybot -s sample and the directory of the shoots you can give. Okay. So both are same. And the next -i include tag. So this we already discussed. So -i we can specify the tag name. So that will execute test cases. Those are containing only the specific tag. Okay. So, so like this -i of robot show. Okay. Some tag you can specify the tag. Okay. So if you execute this, only P1 test cases will execute. And here we have one more thing. So using -i, so you can give the more tags. So using operators like and or not operators. So let's say, so you want to execute both P1 and P2. You can specify P1 and P2. Okay. Mm, P1 and P2. Okay. So it will be like so you can add a pattern. So similar like test case. So -t, you can give pattern. So we have tags test case 1 and test case 2. So we can give pattern like this -i test star. So why it didn't work is so we have to specify with so capital letters. So I since I gave small, so it is not working. So I specified capital. So here, so what are you give here? So yeah, I gave like this hyphen I star case 3. So with case 3 it has to end. So if you see the tags, case 3. So which test case is ended? Uh, Tag is case 3. So this particular test case will execute. Similarly, we can use AND operator, AND or case 3 or, so I'll specify or star case 3 or 2 if I give 2 or 3. Okay. So like test case you can give the format like star or some word and again star or question mark. You can use only star and question mark you can use. Okay. So this you can leave. So okay, so mostly we won't use like this, so we will give like this only. So we'll give full tag. Okay, we want this also, we'll give the full tag, so like p1, okay, or p2 and p3. And if you want to include more tags you can give like this hyphen I p2. Okay, so what this will do, pivot inclusive of p1 tag and p2, so both tags it will consider. So p1 and p2, if you give only one tag, so only p1 tag test cases will execute. Okay, so that is hyphen I. Similarly we have hyphen E. So this is opposite to the hyphen I. So exclude of tag, so whatever you mention the tag, so that will ignore, so rest other it will execute. Okay, so let's see. So I want to exclude p1 test cases. So if I give hyphen e p1, so those test cases which are containing p1 as a tag, so those it won't execute, rest other it will execute. Exclude of p1. See, so if we see, so p1 is with test case 1, p1 with test case 2. So here there is no p1, so only test case 3 got executed. Okay, and so hyphen r, So with this hyphen r tag, so you can execute on specific you can execute failed test cases on a particular output XML file. Okay, so like so I'll show with one example. So for this hyphen r option, so hyphen r is nothing but rerun on fail on a specific output file. Okay, so for this we have to specify hyphen r space the output XML file, output dot XML file. Okay, the robot output XML file we have to specify. Okay, so what this will do, this will execute on this particular XML file. So this will execute only failures. Okay, so the pass test case it won't execute, only failures it will consider and it will rerun those. Okay, so let's say first we'll make one failure. Okay, so this it execute three test cases and one got failed. Okay, so if you see, it generated logs, right, report and output.xml and log.html. Okay, so if you want to run only failures, if you want to rerun those, so instead of selecting the test case 2, or if you want, instead of selecting the specific tag and re-execute one more time, so we have one more option, pivot hyphen r, and you can give that output file, output xml. So this will pick only failures and it will run. Okay, so you have to specify the output xml file, and along with the suit also you have to give. Okay, so we missed suit here, that is what is showing error. So if you give suit, so in this particular output.xml file, so it will pick only failures. Okay, it will pass the xml file and it will find out so it will find out the test cases which are failed. So those test cases it will execute on this shoot. So it will be like pybot hyphen t on the failed test case, and our pybot hyphen I on the specific failed test case tag. Okay, so similar thing it will execute inside. Okay, so this is like simpler method if you want to execute the failures. Okay, so why we use this option is mostly like so if you write more test cases, so few test cases like inconsistency, sometimes those will execute, sometimes those will I'm sorry, sometimes those will pass and sometimes those will fail. Okay, so if you have such cases, so first time if you run maybe out of 10 test cases, 6 test cases got passed. Okay, still you have 4 test cases failed. Okay, if you run one more time, maybe 7 got failed, 7 got passed and 3 got failed. So if you have such scenarios, first what you will do is you will execute 10 test cases. So from the output file you will rerun. You will rerun failures. Maybe next time you are running only failures. So next time you are running 3 test cases, right? So those test cases might pass. Okay. So or else if you want to make sure that those failures you have to rerun one more time, then really if it fails, then you can debug the robot suite or you can see the functionality. So why it is failing. So it's failing due to bug or it's failing due to your script. Okay, you can confirm it. So for that you can rerun the rerun failures using this option. Okay, so next, critical and non-critical tag. So like hyphen c and hyphen n. So these two are all, you can give hyphen c or hyphen critical, and you can specify the tag name. So this will set, so the specific tag, so which are the contents, which are the test case contains the specific tag, so those will treat as a critical test cases. So critical are nothing but like priority level. Okay, so defaultly all test cases are uh, critical. You can see here critical test cases. Okay, so if you see any test cases, any test case, so here you can see pass critical. Okay, critical. So critical is nothing but so it's a kind of priority. Okay, so default all test cases are critical test cases. Okay, if you want to change this, like if you want to change this critical with the tags, you can add with hyphen c. So hyphen c, you can specify the tag name hyphen c p1. If you specify, so p1 test cases should be critical. Okay, so default all are critical. Okay, you can see. So critical test cases only two. Okay, we have mode only p1 is critical. So p1 is critical, p1 is critical, and here this is also p1 critical. So if you go for this non-critical, okay, so that means the importance or the period of the bug may be less. Okay, non-critical. Okay, so like this you can make. So if you want to make for non-critical, so you can use hyphen n. So now p1 is a non-critical, so rest all as a critical. Okay, so p1 is non-critical. So for critical test only one. Why? Because so this is p2, so it is only critical. So rest others are non-critical. Okay, so like this you can change the behavior or importance of the test case. Um, that is one. And so using hyphen v. So using hyphen v, you can pass the variable. So how it is? So we defined one variable like this. In variables, we define name as a robot framework. So if you want to change this variable in runtime, okay, you define this in shoot. So maybe in runtime, if you want to change, let's say you have taken one version here, version is hard coded. Okay, while running, you want to give the different version. Okay, you can change it. So that will be like hyphen v, and you can give name column. The syntax is like that: hyphen v, the argument, so the sorry variable name, hyphen v, variable name, column, and value. Okay, you can specify Python. Okay, so here you define as a robot framework. So where it will work. So for first test case we are printing log welcome to robot framework language. So if you see this, now welcome to robot framework language. Okay, so this has to be overridden with the whatever we are going to give here, Python. Okay, let's see now. see Python, even print name is Python. Okay, so wherever you have uh, name as an variable, so that will be replaced with Python. Okay, so this is the syntax. You have to give hyphen v and the variable name colon the value. Okay, so you are running variables runtime. So next, hyphen d. So hyphen d, if you want to create output directories, so defaultly those outputs are like log reports, logs or output.xml or report.html. So these outputs defaultly it will create in current directory. So wherever you execute, it will create in a current directory. So if you want to specifically if you want to specifically tell that, so those output files has to create in specific directory, then you have to give like this hyphen d output dir, hyphen d directory name, or hyphen hyphen output dir to specify the directory name. So let's see. So defaultly it is printing here. You can give. So I am in this path, desktop robot. So it is printing here. So if you want to say, if you're telling that those will be in different location, you can give d space the directory name outputs. Okay, see, outputs are created into robot outputs and file name. Okay, so if you see here outputs, see we have three files. Okay, so like this this will create a output directory, so you can create your custom directory, so in that those outputs will place. Similarly, so if you want to change these output files names, we have option hyphen l for log, so like custom log dot html. Okay, so defaultly it will be log.html, so I'm just overriding it, so I'm just changing the name of the log.html. So for report hyphen r custom report.html. Okay, for output hyphen o custom hyphen output.xml. Okay, these formats you have to give html for report and log, and xml for output.xml. Okay, so you can override it. So let's say you have some 10, 15 or more suit. So for each suit, if you want to segregate, if you give like this, you will be like confused. So which log is refers to which suit. Okay, so you can give the suit name here. Okay, so let's say you are working on web UI, or if you are working on some filter, so you can give filter log or web UI log or category log. So you can specify the feature name here. Okay, see. Robot custom output custom log dot html custom output dot xml custom underscore custom report dot html. Okay, so those are created. So you can give combination of hyphen d also, hyphen d outputs. Okay, so what will happen, so it has to create one output directory, so inside output directory, so this file should be there. Okay, so like this we have to open this log and we have to see that. Okay, so we have two options, so hyphen p and hyphen a. Okay, so hyphen p is use it to specify the path of the Python. So let's say if you are importing some module here, so like in Python modules, if you are importing some modules, so library or some module you are importing, so what will happen defaultly, like how Python path will work, default it will check in current directory and it will check in that Python installation path, and if you specify any path it will check. So that is how it will follow. Okay, so similarly robot also, first it will look into current directory, later it will look into that Python installation path, and if you specify anything it will look into the specific to the particular path. Okay, so that is how it will follow. So if you want to change the order, you can set a Python path, so like how you made in um, Python module, so you have to set Python path, you have to set this Python path, you have to set this environment variable. Okay, so it is null, we have to set that Python path. Okay, you can specify the specific path. So if you use library that module, so this robot framework will look the module into the particular path. Okay, so that is how it will work. Or else you can specify the path like this, hyphen p, using hyphen p, using hyphen capital P, we can specify the path of the Python module. Okay, so this will get more idea while we discuss custom libraries, how to use custom libraries in robot framework. Okay, okay, still now we didn't use any custom Python libraries, so once you use that you will get the idea. Okay, next arguments file. So arguments files are nothing but so this you can create one plain text file like .txt. In the text file you can specify all options, so what you are going to pass, so options are arguments, so that file you can give here. So let's say so whatever we try now, we can create those into one args.txt, one file we can create, and here you can specify the options like hyphen I p1, so p1 files has to execute, and hyphen d for d for documentation, right? So documentation I need to specify testing. Okay, so like hyphen as shoot name I need to change like feature testing. Okay, so similarly you can write all options here. Okay, so now you can provide those pivot hyphen a capital A hyphen a, that file you can specify args.txt and shoot. Okay, so what this will happen, so this will read this file args.txt and get the data, and it will send the comments like this, like pybot, and so we mentioned these three options, right? Like pybot hyphen a p1 hyphen d testing and hyphen s feature testing and space robot shoot. Okay, so this will be similar to like this pybot hyphen I p1 and hyphen d some documentation hyphen s the shoot name. Okay, it's similar to same. So if you have more options, instead of writing here in a single line, you can create in one file and you can send that file as an argument. Okay, now it will execute all those three. See, robot shoot contains no test tag p1. Okay, so we need to set right. capital N. See, applicable all, it filtered only two tests, P1 and we gave documentation as a testing. So testing is the documentation and shoot name as a feature testing. Okay, you can open the log and you can see. So feature testing is a shoot name and documentation is testing, and we selected only P1 P1 tag. Okay, so like we can merge all options into one file like this. So that file we can pass that file as an argument to the pybot. Okay, so that is how we can use -a. So these are the options mainly we'll use. So we have have one more option here. Okay, so we have one more option. So this is provided with only 3.0. Okay, hyphen f. So what this option will do? So hyphen f space extension we can give. Okay, so let's say if you execute on specific path and specific directory, so it will look for all three formats like .txt and .robot and .html. Okay, and it will look for all format files and it will execute all those. So instead of that, if you want to execute only specific format, you can give the extension hyphen f space extension like hyphen f robot. If you give robot, it will execute only robot file. If you give txt, it will execute only txt files, or else uh, if you want both, you can give robot colon txt. So this will be with 3.0.1. So previous versions this option was not there. So we'll try that. So pybot this way dot star. So this is executing all right. So I have only robot.txt, test.robot and sample.robot. Okay, so I need to execute only txt. See, it executed only robot should. It didn't execute others. Okay, so like this you can specify robot. So this execute only robot, sample.robot and test.robot. Okay, so like that we can use hyphen f option. Okay, so these are the options we'll use our robot framework. Okay, so are you clear with these options? So these options are optional. So if you want to use, you can use, or else directly you can give pybot space the suit name. Okay, so these are the options available. So based on our requirement, you can pick and you can use. Okay, so I think